Hello, Pod Smashers of the Internet, and welcome to another 80-Bit Newscast. We are your hosts.
Penguin and Termite, I am Penguin.
I am Termite. We usually have a podcast called 80-Bit Pod Smash, and this is the extension of that.
Still do. Still actually have a podcast.
That's how we usually do. Yeah, we do have a podcast.
I got you.
And
we have a new show.
This is the extension of that, where we run you guys through the weekly video game news that we care about with you guys, informing you on what's going on in the industry this past week. And what are we going to be talking about tonight?
Yeah, so tonight we are going to be talking about a lot of stuff, so hopefully we can cover it all. More never-ending deluge of news coming out of CD Projekt Red. So certain events transpired at their office. Or not at their office, just it's transpired regarding them. So we'll talk about that. That happened over the course of this week. Furthermore, there is some new company from the Microsoft Bethesda deal. That I don't know what that means.
All right, we're going to go into it.
New company for... Okay, all right, yeah. All right, figured as much. Turok 1 and 2...
Yes!
Are coming to PlayStation, so we'll talk about
excited.
That.
Can't wait.
Some sales figures came out for Remedy Entertainment, the developers of Control. So we'll talk about what impact that may have had for them. There is some Borderlands 3 news, which I'm always excited about, or, interested in. And then some casting decisions were made for the HBO Last of Us TV show. So, in fact, there's some casting decisions for the Borderlands movie as well. So, we can talk about those as well if we have time. So, cool. All right. Then, as always, feel free to leave comments as we go. We'll have the chat up. We may not respond to them, or we will not respond to them more than likely until the end. But if you go ahead and start throwing them in there, if you're watching this live, then we will respond to them. We'll scroll back if we need to and respond to them there at the end as much as we can. So, yep, we'll warn you again for that before we start our last story. But other than that, is there any more housekeeping before we jump in?
Yes. First off, make sure that you are going to 80bitpodsmash.com. That is our landing website where you'll find links to all of our podcast platforms and social media outlets, where you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, and Twitter. You can tag us on any of those social media outlets to give us questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, and ideas that you care about. There's also a link to a Discord server in all of our show notes, as well as on our website. So jump into our Discord server, interact with us, and if you are watching on YouTube, make sure that you head on over to twitch.tv/80bitpodsmash and subscribe to us there, because every Monday night, we're right here live at 8 p.m. Eastern, running you through video game news, and every Wednesday night, we're live playing video games with you during our video game live streams, and we want you guys to be a part of it and be aware of when we are live, so please hit the subscription, go to YouTube. If you've missed our live streams, you can find all of our back catalog of live streams and news shows there, and you can find a link to our YouTube page going all the way back to 80bitpodsmash.com.
Fantastic. Well, then let's jump in and start with the news.
So,
first story is CD Projekt Red was under a ransomware attack.
Yeah.
I literally cringe inside whenever I read this story, and I'm cringing inside also now talking about it, because I have been on the side of being a company that has been impacted by a ransomware attack, and it is not a good day. So, this was a really bad day for CD Projekt Red. So what happened, Termite?
CD Projekt Red, as... who was writing this? Jordan Alleman over at IGN writes, has been a victim of a targeted cyber attack in which hackers claim to have stolen internal documents and the source code for Cyberpunk2077, WItcher3, and more. The company announced the attack on Twitter, noting its, quote, internal systems have been compromised and that hackers had left a ransom note. The ransom note was released to the public alongside the announcement, and it claims that the hackers have, quote, dumped full copies of the source codes for Cyberpunk2077, Witcher3, Gwent, and the unreleased version of Witcher 3, presumably the next-gen edition coming later this year. Hackers also claim to have access to all of the company's documents related to accounting, administration, legal, HR, investor relations, and more. The ransom note ends by noting that CD Projekt Red has 48 hours to contact the hackers, or your source codes will be sold or leaked online, and your document will be sent to our contacts in the gaming journalism. Your public image will go down the crapper even more, and people will see how you... Wow, there's a lot of cussing. You blank your company functions. Investors will lose trust in your company, and the stock will dive even lower. The note continues. So extremely vicious attack on CD Projekt Red. Clearly. Completely unnecessary. This is ridiculous. But what can they do with the code? That's what I want to know. Like, I read all this, and I'm like, okay, I understand people's privacy, HR documents. I understand like company proprietary financial data, accounting and such that other competitors could use to kind of undercut Cyberpunk in publishing deals or whatever and trying to sell the company, the value of the company. It's like all that stuff is proprietary for a reason. You're trying to do business, you're trying to make money and stay afloat. I get that being a horrible situation, but what is the risk of dumping copies of the source code? Because no one's going to be able to do anything with it as far as the consoles are concerned, but maybe they'll come out with PC mods to it.
I imagine they could make like emulated versions of it and stuff like that. Even just the idea of selling copies of it, right? Like copies of the game. I don't know.
They can't build it. Like, we don't have
competitors. Sure, but maybe if they sold it to competitors, if there is a system in any of the games that competitors were having a hard time cracking, they could copy it, basically. I don't know.
There's still copyright laws at place and trademarks. Like, they can't, like, no one can copy The Witcher 3 and come out with your own version just because you have the source code.
But they could reverse engineer a system in it that, maybe...
Well, like we saw with the Fallout Shelter and the thing WB was doing, trying to copy it, there's lawsuits for that. And they go after them. It's like, oh, this is a direct copy of our game. And then they can show it.
I don't know, but the bottom line is it did sell.
It did, yeah, that's the next news story.
Yeah, that's the next news story. So, someone bought it, so it's worth something to someone. So, did you want to jump into that, or do you want to hold off on that?
That's if you have anything else to add about the hack and the ransomware thing. Like, what do you think about CD Projekt Red's reputation? That seems to be what the letter is attacking here more than anything else.
Right. Yeah, I mean, number one, who knows what the actual story is in regards to like why they were targeted? Were they targeted because I don't even know the details. I mean, ransomware doesn't just get on the system. I mean, you can't just like. Usually it's a phishing attack of some kind. Whether it was specifically targeted to CD Projekt Red as a result of the press, or whether it was just an opportunistic, they got in somehow, and they were just like, okay, cool, there's already a lot of bad press, so we'll just add that as an attempt to, get the ransom taken care of, or whatever. Like, who knows? Like, I don't know what the hackers' motivations were necessarily, but I only say that because if you are the kind of person to go out of your way to try to hack a company and leak trade secrets and all that stuff and, potentially devastate an entire company just because you were mad about a game, you're objectively a bad person.
Yeah.
And we don't condone that behavior. I mean, ransomware is one of those things where, like, if you ever get ransomware, don't pay the ransom. Cut your losses, because there's no guarantee that they're actually going to unlock your files or whatever. So it's why you always keep good backups, number one. And number two, you just don't do it. So I think it's interesting that CD Projekt Red, I guess they had to get out in front of it because their stuff was going to leak, but, it was interesting that they're just, in their statement, they're like, we're not going to pay it. We're going to just cut our losses and hope for the best. It seems like the industry has more or less rallied around them. Like, I haven't seen like bad press. I haven't seen any, supposedly they leaked it to their journalist contacts or whatever, but I haven't seen any like scathing, stories about it. So it seems like the industry in general is just like, yeah, that was a crappy thing for these guys to do, so we're not going to capitalize on it ourselves. So I think that's an interesting thing. But who knows? Maybe tomorrow something will come out and I'll stick my foot in my mouth. But in the meantime, it just seems like it's garnered a little bit more sympathy for them. Who knows?
Yeah, I think why kick them while they're down? This is totally like unnecessary and ridiculous. Terrible behavior. I do want to contrast this though, because something similar happened to Capcom recently, where hackers stole huge amounts of data and leaked everything. And like with that, they had a whole bunch of stuff coming that they were not ready to announce yet, or like too early in development to even show or make any promises. And so there was like a slew of Resident Evil games and like new Mega Man, Street Fighter updates and stuff. And I can understand that being super damaging. But
Sure,
CD Projekt Red doesn't have anything new. They just came out with Cyberpunk, and they're working on that. Maybe some DLC, and that's
like a
it.
next-gen update to The Witcher, possibly Witcher 3. So
but there's no surprise. Like that's already announced.
Right.
That's out there.
Right.
Yeah. That's that I don't understand. It's just like, okay.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's both a big deal and who knows. I don't know. I just don't know enough about what they got. You know what I mean? So, right. Yeah.
So I'm assuming the motivation is money.
I would guess that things like financial stuff like that is probably more valuable than new game announcements coming out, because like people are still going to buy those Capcom games, right? You know what I mean? Like games getting leaked is, in my opinion, not as big of a deal that the industry makes out of it. Like because 90% of gamers already know that stuff is coming for the most part, and are going to buy it anyways. Like, it only raises the hype more when a Smash Bros. Character gets leaked, quote unquote. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it only gets the speculation. It pops up in the news. There's more buzz generated around it. So, like, it doesn't actually, hurt them as bad as they pretend like it does. I think so.
Yeah, but as a creative person,
getting leaked and financials and stuff like that getting leaked, like that to me is like, ugh, that sucks. That could really hurt them depending on how it's used. So
yeah, as a creative person yourself, like if you are creating something and it's not ready to be shown, it's not ready yet. It's too early. As you put your name and your company and your blessing on this content, this piece of work, and someone comes in and takes it and reveals it to the world when it doesn't really reflect what you were doing because it wasn't done yet. That's the offensive, like, from the creative.
But it's not the. No, I get it. It still sucks one way or another. But anyways, we can move on from the story. We're not going to talk about it all night. So
yeah, I guess we have been here for a while.
It was sold. So let's briefly talk about that and then move on.
From GamesIndustry.biz, James Batchelor says, according to an earlier post shared by VX Underground, which collects malware source code, samples, and papers, the hackers claim to be selling full source code for Cyberpunk 2077, Thronebreaker, and The Witcher 3, including an unreleased version featuring ray tracing. The group was asking for a starting bid of $1 million with a minimum offer increase of $500,000 or the option to purchase immediately for $7 million. It is unclear how much money the hackers accepted. Earlier this week, it was revealed that CD Projekt Red had been the victim of attack. The hackers gave the studio 48 hours, and CD Projekt Red released a statement asserting that it would not give in to the demands nor negotiate with the actor, being aware that this may eventually lead to the release of compromised data. The studio emphasized that the personal data of players has not been compromised. It is working with authorities to investigate the attack. So all we know is that it had been sold. We don't know exactly how much for, I guess.
And that the hackers were selling it for up to $7 million. So
yep. Well, you could buy it now for $1 million, or do like it's the whole eBay thing. The bid starts at $1 million, $500,000 increments, or you can buy the whole thing immediately for $7 million.
Yeah. So they made at most $7 million. I can't imagine they made more than that unless the bids got higher.
Right.
I don't know. So
could have, I guess.
I guess, but
yeah, I'm sure we'll see something, like you said, come out of this whole thing. Like, that's not coming from CD Projekt Red. Something should come out of it, I assume. We'll keep our eyes on it, and we'll keep you guys up to date.
Cool. All right, so new company from the Microsoft Bethesda deal. Does that mean they're making a new company?
There is.
they're
Microsoft is creating a new company. By Jordan Oleman over at IGN, legal documents indicate that Microsoft intends to create a new wholly owned subsidiary called The Vault to complete its ZeniMax media acquisition deal. It's not clear if ZeniMax will be known as Vault after the deal closes. The European Union is currently deciding whether to approve the $7.5 billion acquisition that was revealed back in September. Documents seen on the European Union law website refer to the logistics of the acquisition, mentioning a merger pursuant to which a newly created Microsoft subsidiary, Vault, will be merged with and into ZeniMax. It's not clear
That's a lot of
exactly. Yes, it is. It's not clear exactly how this will work. The Vault subsidiary would be a good way to house Microsoft's new acquisitions under one quasi-independent banner, affording ZeniMax's studios, which includes Bethesda, Arcane, Machine Games, and more, a level of freedom while still being owned by Microsoft. The text explicitly says that Microsoft will acquire, quote, sole control of the whole of ZeniMax, regardless. But the document suggests that they will be accompanying this via the Vault subsidiary. We'll be sure to learn more once the deal gets the all-clear from the European Union.
Sounds like maybe a Activision Blizzard situation where, you know, Activision Blizzard is the company that owns it, and then Activision and Blizzard are subsidiaries of them. Sounds kind of like that. Like Microsoft is creating them as a subsidiary, like it's creating a subsidiary that would be ZeniMax. Yeah, it's a little confusing, but
it is.
Cool, I guess.
Yeah, whether ZeniMax's studios,
I don't know.
Maybe. The reason why this is interesting is because Vault, Fallout, right? Bethesda. So
yeah,
maybe it's a special like studio that. I mean, that's speculating, right? Maybe they're going to house that. Who knows? But there's images of this new company, Vault, and of course, Vaults from Fallout being touted amongst the internet. But whether ZeniMax's studios become known as part of Vault or not, the move to create the Microsoft subsidiary to complete a merger seems to mark a level of independence compared to the other acquired companies.
Right.
In the past, in Microsoft's previous acquisitions, Obsidian, Ninja Theory, Double Fine, which those were all formally made a part of Microsoft and housed under its Xbox Game Studios brand.
Yeah.
So this is different.
Yep.
We'll see.
Weird. We'll see. Yep. I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference in the long run, but it's still interesting. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's still a thing that's happening. Yeah.
Can't wait.
Yep. Cool. All right. Turok 1 and 2 coming to PlayStation.
So this actually, I want to take a little bit of journalism credit. Right now, I brought up to link for a reference to you. There's a comicbook.com article, but this came way after I discovered this. So what had happened was, and it's kind of cool. Back in July, I track psnprofiles.com, and I went to that website as I track it every day, and I saw Turok 1 trophies popped. They were on the list. They showed up. No one had earned any of them, and there was no indication whatsoever across anything that game was being ported to PS4. And it was in July. So I was like, oh, an announcement's surely coming. Fast forward to like last week. Still nothing. Absolute nothing. What we do know is that Night Dive Studios had ported the original Turok and Turok 2 with a ton of enhancements to both the Xbox One and the PC platforms. I own them on Steam.
Yeah.
And I said they're out there, and all I have to do is port them to PlayStation. I assume it would be the same deal. So then Turok 2's trophy list popped on psnprofiles.com. Again, with no announcements, no fanfare, it's just there. And I was like, what? Turok 1 and 2 are on the PSN profiles, which means the trophies were uploaded to Sony's servers, which is an indication of certification when you submit a new game. So then I continued to do some more sleuthing and linking and Googling around, and I stumbled into a Reset Era forum. Reset Era is kind of the new NeoGAF, if you will, where developers actually post. And sure enough, there is a certified developer from Night Dive Studios that said, yes, the new games are coming, an announcement will come soon. And I was like, oh, I found like the action. This is like a primary source. This is not a website reporting on it. Like, it is right here. And then comicbook.com's website beat me to the punch because I was just going to save it for tonight. And but no, here it is. So Tyler Fisher over at comicbook.com writes, the PS4 and technically the PS5 are reportedly getting 2 classic N64 games later this month. February is a slow month for PS4 and PS5 gamers, and it doesn't look like March will be much better. However, if a new leak is to be believed, the PS4 and PS5 players will soon be able to enjoy a few games from yesteryear. More specifically, according to the new PlayStation Store leak, both Turok and Turok 2 remasters are finally coming to PlayStation 4 on February 25th. Now, I don't know if this should be called a leak, because you can just go to the PlayStation Store now and search for Turok, and you can see that it comes out on the 25th. I don't really think that's a leak, but that's what they're calling it. It's there. I get excited. If you're into Turok at all, I'm extremely excited. I'm dying for trophies. I cannot wait to play these games through again as an adult. I have withheld my passion and excitement on the PC versions because they don't have trophies and they're very big and long games, and I'm not going to invest tons and tons of hours into a different platform when I knew it in my... What is the quote from Detective Pikachu when you can feel it in your what? Do you remember? I'm lost. Anyway, I felt it. It was coming to PlayStation. I just knew it. And sure enough, February 25th, everyone. Get ready.
Man, what a janky looking game. I love it.
Oh, dude, it's going to be so good. I cannot wait. I have
game.
so many fond memeries of playing Turok 1 and 2 on the N64. And
There's a handful of N64 games. I mean, both Turok and Doom 64 now have come to PlayStation, so
I have 100% of the trophies on Doom 64. There's no platinum, unfortunately. There's no platinum on Turok 1, but there is a platinum on Turok 2. So, yeah, and it's ridiculous. It's going to take forever. It's going to be a super hard platinum.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, cool. That's exciting. I might come over to your house and watch you play it, or
I'll be streaming it for sure. Yeah,
for sure. Cool. All right, that's Turok. So Remedy Entertainment announced that they have had a record year despite no new game releases, and due entirely to the ongoing success of Control, despite all of the controversy around it. So yeah,
the reason why I wanted to bring this up was because we just talked about how Cyberpunk 2077 was extremely profitable and very lucrative for CD Projekt Red, despite all of what we saw. And here is yet another example of a massive debacle of 505 games making false promises and talking about how PlayStation 5 upgrades and you can transfer saves, but you can't, and locking people on different platforms and making people buy multiple copies of the game and all this stuff. Not consumer-friendly whatsoever, but here they are, making more money this past year than ever. Remedy has
it's almost like anti-consumer policies actually do pay.
That's why they happen.
That's not entirely the I'll come to Remedy's defense here and say that the game is also a very good game.
It is,
and is doing well on the merits of it as a good game. Just I'm assuming aside from 505's chicanery. But yeah, no, Control's doing awesome, and that's great for Remedy. If you're curious on the numbers there, it's up about 30%, or $41.1 million. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. I'm a big fan of Remedy. I'm not a big fan of 505's chicanery, but I am a big fan of Remedy. This is another example of I guess there's no such thing as bad press.
Yeah, I guess so. But Remedy wasn't really in the crosshairs for this. 505 was.
Right.
Remedy is the developer that made Control. They're kind of the victims of 505's decisions anyway. So that's kind of the other side of the story here, is that good on Remedy for actually being successful still, despite something they probably didn't agree with but couldn't really speak out against with how 505 was handling it. We know that the game arrived on PC, Xbox Game Pass. There were cloud versions on Nintendo Switch and Amazon Luna service. And then, of course, it's free. The Ultimate Edition came out on PlayStation Plus for February as a free game. And we know from previous reports that whenever games come out on PlayStation Plus or Game Pass, which is seemingly free to the consumer, those games sell way better just on the market in general. Whether it's like, I don't know if it's word of mouth, if it's just exposure, player base, friends talking about it, jump in. I don't know what it is, but it's when those are highlighted in the free stuff, they get actual sales bumps from them, and this is another kind of product of that.
Yeah, I mean, when the game is, again, that idea of there's no such thing as bad press, like both Cyberpunk and Control have been plastered on my news feed for weeks now. You know what I mean? Still for weeks now. Because of all the stuff, and so when just the game is there, if you're someone who hasn't bought it yet and you're into gaming news, and so it's popping up on your news feed, eventually it's gonna be something that you're gonna be interested in, and I bet you that directly results in sales. So it's great. I mean, it's a great game. So if you haven't played it yet, this is my official endorsement of the game. If you have been a victim of the chicanery, I definitely feel for you, but nevertheless, go Control. I mean, it's awesome for Remedy. I mean, imagine not coming out with a game and just having a record year. That's actually kind of cool. Yeah, it speaks to their. They're definitely an up and coming developer. I think this is going to be the start of something great for Remedy, and will enable them to pursue projects as good or better than Control, which is great because I like Control and I like what they do. So,
don't forget that it was nominated for Game of the Year in 2019.
It was. I've been playing a lot of 2019 games recently. Like 2019 was a great year for games. So, anyways, That's a side note. We'll talk about that later, I guess, in the podcast.
All right. So we have some new things coming from the Borderlands 3 camp, just to keep you guys up to date on what's going on with that. The Season Pass 2 had come out previously, and there was one, the Designer's Cut?
They announced the Designer's Cut and the Director's Cut. The Designer's Cut, well, I'll say the Designer's Cut included the new talent trees, and then also their, like, Battle Royale mode, which is like a PvE Battle Royale. It's not actually Battle Royale, but it has the same kind of flair. It's called Arms Race. So that's that DLC. You can, if you purchase the Season Pass 2 now, you gain access to all that. They just announced the next thing you gain access to, which is the Director's Cut, which will be out in the spring, March 18th. And it includes a bunch of different stuff. It includes a new raid boss, some new story content in the form of the character nobody liked, Ava. I guess they're gonna try to redeem Ava in players' minds, because you're gonna do some like murder mysteries with Ava. And then, oh gosh, what else is there gonna be? They don't have a list of it, do they?
Just that it's part of the second part, $30, includes Last Fall's Designer Cut DLC, and you also get this Director's Cut, story-driven.
Director's Cut.
Siren, Ava.
A series of recurring challenges called Vault Cards.
That's it.
Concept art, storyboard, something players have requested for a long time. A raid boss, yeah. So it's gonna have the classic raid boss that Borderlands used to, like from Borderlands 2, where it's just a boss, a big boss with the suffix the invincible, that is just out in the world somewhere. And they had this, or they have their like their versions of raids, their whatever you call them, the takedowns, which were more like raids from like Destiny, where you go through a gauntlet of enemies and then fight bosses there. So they've had those. They have 2 of those in the game now. So this is something more like what they had in Borderlands 2. So cool.
The last piece of news that came out of this whole Borderlands announcement is pretty cool. Tales from the Borderlands is coming back to digital storefronts on February 17th, in 2 days. So if you have missed Tales from the Borderlands, go get it. It's so good. If you care at all about the Borderlands story, it's amazing.
Yeah. Tales from the Borderlands is probably some of the best writing that's come out of that franchise, period. But cool. So if you're into Borderlands 3, then there's some more content for you to look forward to. I have not purchased the Season 2 pass personally yet. I might. But only if I have someone to play it with. So, and there's a lot of co-op experiences to look forward to this year. So, I
haven't bought any of the Borderlands 3 DLC. So there's Season Pass 1 and 2.
Right, I still haven't gotten the Krieg one either, so I can't even speak to the. I've only played the first 3. So, all right, cool. Then that's enough Borderlands. Which brings us to our last story. And so if anyone's out there and has not decided to, it's co-op Apex Legends. Yeah, that's T-Bone's comment on. That's basically what it is. Yeah, it's like PvE Apex Legends.
Yep.
Anyways, so any final comments, questions, concerns from anybody watching live? Speak now or forever hold your peace. And then and then we'll do our last news thing. So the last piece of news is casting announcements were made for HBO's The Last of Us. So HBO is doing a live-action Last of Us adaptation, and they have cast, I guess to no one's surprise, at least not to my surprise at all, like, the Mandalorian is going to be Joel, which Joel's character arc is basically the Mandalorian. So, Pedro Pascal will play a grizzled, old, hardened, veteran in a hostile world who has to look after a young child and escort them, an important young child, and escort them to a place where they will be safe and can fulfill their destiny. That is literally this. I mean, it's the same.
Well, except that Baby Yoda is not destined to save the world, and then the Mandalorian selfishly grabs Baby Yoda and keeps him for himself. Other than that, it's just like it.
It's the same story, different ending, is basically what it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Pedro, as far as characters go, Pedro Pascal has been typecast hard, let's be real. And he will probably be typecast as, this character for the rest of his life. Which is,
I'm okay with that.
Great. I mean, to me he is still and will always be Oberyn Martell from Game of Thrones, the Viper, which is a very different character. So.
I don't even know who that is. Speaking of Game of Thrones,
you remember the Viper? He got his head smushed by the mountain. Spoilers.
Somewhere in the middle of season 3.
I can't believe you don't know. Whatever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I have no idea. Anyway,
speaking of Game of Thrones,
speaking
Bella
of
Ramsey, it was announced to play Ellie. Bella Ramsey again is famous they're both Game of Thrones alumni actually, and Bella Ramsey played the bear girl, Lady Mormont, Lady Mormont. And she was awesome in that. She's also in his Dark Materials, which I watched, so she's kind of an HBO all-star there. And so I think she'll make a good Ellie. I had personally someone else in mind. Caitlin Dever was my pick for Ellie because she literally looks and sounds like Ellie. But I think Bella Ramsey will do okay. Everything I've seen her in, she's got that like ferocity, which Ellie has.
Oh yeah. Yep.
But I haven't really seen a lot of the depth from her yet. Like, I haven't seen her actually, like, I don't know if she'll be able to... Well, I mean, I just don't know. I haven't seen her in something where she's, like, actually, like, got the emotional arc that Ellie will have to go through. So, anyways, I'm sure she'll do great, because she's an HBO actress, so she'll probably do fine. So, I think she's, like, 13 now, so she's, so she'll be... She
Ellie's
won't be
age?
too old for the role. Yeah, she'd be almost perfectly Ellie's age. Exactly. Like, Ellie was, like, what, 14 in the story, in the first one?
Sounds
so
right.
It's good, because I only bring that up because it just means that they cast someone of the appropriate age. That was the only downside with Caitlin Dever, my first choice, is she's, like, 17. So, by the time that it comes out, she'd be, like, 18, 19, which is a little bit too old for character. So.
They have yet to announce who's going to be cast as Ellie's girlfriend. And I'm trying to get her name. I cannot remember.
Are they gonna have the first one? Didn't have
Left Behind, the childhood friend.
The girl. Okay, gotcha.
Okay. If you haven't played that DLC, you should go back.
I
to
did.
Okay,
yeah.
So I don't know who she was. I don't remember her name. I'm trying to find it, but I couldn't. I can't fast enough. But she hasn't been cast yet. But the movie or the show series is going to take place with the first game and its DLC Left Behind. So it's not really going to touch on the sequel at all, at least not initially. But it's written by Chernobyl's Craig Mazin, which I cannot wait. Like, it's so good. It's gonna be awesome.
It's just Chernobyl writer is great, and Neil Druckmann's also partnered on it, so he'll make sure it, lives up to Naughty Dog standards. Hopefully,
this could potentially be the first TV or film adaptation of a video game that actually is objectively good, that captures the audience outside of gamers.
Right.
And I hope
it's
so.
good because The Last of Us is such a cinematic experience anyway. It's perfect because Last of Us is already, basically half the game is a movie anyways. So, yeah, to me, this is the closest thing to, like, a book to video game adaptation. Sorry, a book to movie adaptation, because people mostly enjoy The Last of Us for its story. Therefore, all they have to really do is translate the story into a television show, and people will like it, presumably because if they like good stories. In contrast to Borderlands, which is also coming out with a movie, is going through the process of production for a movie and has had casting announcements. We haven't covered them yet, but
it's Jumanji 3.
It basically is. They've got Cate Blanchett, who played Galadriel, and the evil girl from Thor 3. She's playing Lilith. Roland is being played by Kevin Hart, as you alluded to.
Yeah.
There's 4, aren't there? There's 4 casting decisions.
Who's the other one? I only know 3.
Lilith, Roland, and I guess there's only the 3. Claptrap has been announced. The actor who's voicing him is Jack Black. That's
which
why
I thought was perfect and hilarious, and like, okay, maybe that's good. Cate Blanchett is a great casting pick. Kevin Hart for Roland.
Well, people have been pooping on that, but like, the voice actor for Roland in Borderlands 1 had a very different voice than he did in Borderlands 2, and he was much more close to Kevin Hart, I'll say, as a way of saying it the least offensive way possible, but he was closer to what Kevin Hart, I think, is what they're going for. Who knows? I don't know. It could be... It sounds like it's a bit of a dumpster fire, and the only reason I say that is because Borderlands doesn't have the best story to adapt unless it's done very carefully, and what people like about Borderlands is the gameplay, the guns, the loot grind, all that stuff, and then the writing is kind of secondary to all that. So I could see this going in a really bad direction if they go too Jumanji with it, you know what I mean? Like, if they try to make it too Jumanji, then I'm like, Jumanji was fine for what it was, but like, don't Jumanjify Borderlands. I personally think that Cate Blanchett's a little bit older than I would have picked for Lilith. Personally, that's nothing against Cate Blanchett. She is incredible and talented and amazing, and I love her. I just don't see her as Lilith. And I could warm up to Jack Black as Claptrap, but Claptrap is just so distinctive. And again, I adore Jack Black's one of my favorite people in the whole world, but as Claptrap, I just don't know. It strikes me a bit as too much of a like pandering, mass market appeal, as opposed to like what Claptrap is. Which Claptrap is that. Like I always think Jack Black's too likable to be Claptrap. Like Claptrap needs to be unlikable. Anyways, those are my opinions on it. So
it can all be redeemed with one more casting, and that is Ryan Reynolds as Jack. Handsome Jack. If they do that, done.
That would be good.
I'm in.
Yeah. I would be okay with that.
Yeah.
I would want to see that just for the sake of seeing Ryan Reynolds as Handsome Jack.
Yeah.
So we'll see. He's got big shoes to fill. Damian Clark just did so good.
Yeah.
So, I also want to see Dave. If they did if two casting decisions, if they had Ryan Reynolds as Handsome Jack and Dave Bautista as Brick.
Yes.
Please give me that.
Absolutely.
And heck, while we got Pedro Pascal on board, let's just throw him as Mordecai. Pedro Pascal's Mordecai.
Perfect. Done.
Yeah, it's perfect. That's it.
Sign it.
I did it. I fixed Borderlands.
Yep. Hopefully it's written well.
Yeah, well, it's Eli Roth, who's known for horror.
I don't know who
he's
that
known
is.
for like body horror movies. I think he did The Thing.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you do with like sci-fi comedy, space opera.
Yeah.
If the whole movie ended up being cel shaded, like live actors, but like cel shaded over,
that'd be.
That would be awesome. So I would be into that. So,
we have not seen a teaser or trailer, so who knows?
No, there's nothing. There's no footage. They're in casting right now.
Yep.
They haven't even started shooting, so we'll see. Anyways, so that's all we have time for. No further comments to respond to in chat, so we can just give our normal spiel of recap where you can find us and all that good stuff, and then we'll let y'all on your merry ways.
So you can find us at 80bitpodsmash.com. That's our landing website with links to all of our podcast platforms and social media outlets, as well as our Twitch account, twitch.tv/80bitpodsmash. Once again, you can meet us every single Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, for a news show running you through weekly news that we care about to you. And every Wednesday night, you can find us playing a game on our weekly video game live streams. And you can look for Turok 1 and 2 from Termite after February 25th. I cannot wait. So make sure you click subscribe so that you can be a part of the excitement and a part of our content as we go live and do all of the random live streams that we do occasionally as well.
All right, cool. Awesome. Well, then we'll let you go. If you're watching this later on YouTube, also make sure to subscribe. So this will be up on the YouTubes
right now
for your enjoyment.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. Well, I guess by the time you're watching this, yeah.
See you later this week.
Bye-bye.